got a fresh fade. Shout out to Daniel at On Top Barbershop because the past 2 months I was here, I kind of I went to the same place at Ala Moana. They did me dirty twice. First time around, they lined me up, but then they gave me a receding hairline. They like went up here, which is weird. And then the second time, he gave me a nice fade, but then he didn't take out the top, so I just left it. So that's why in the last video you saw me with like spiky hair, and I don't like that look anymore. I like this. It's like clean cut, and I don't have to think about like fucking styling my hair when I wake up, and when I can just wake up and go like this. Like, finding a barber is hard. Finding a barber when you're in a foreign town is even harder and for you to trust. So for 2 months I was walking around with like decent haircut. It's not the one I want, but this is what I want. This is exactly what I needed. This is what I usually get back in Toronto. So shout out to you, Daniel at On Top Barber. If you guys are ever in Hawaii, in Oahu, search their place up because they take care of you. And yeah, well, let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is me, Iamtongue, and today I want to show you guys how to shoot a time lapse the right way with your Fujifilm camera. I love shooting time lapses and I've been making them a lot here on the island. So before we begin, I want to say that this method I'm going to show you guys will work if you have the following things. You're going to need a raw image processing software, something like Adobe Lightroom or Capture One. For this video, I will use Lightroom because this is what I got. And also, you're going to need a video editing software, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, or DaVinci Resolve. Any one of those will do. I use DaVinci Resolve because Adobe Premiere is just trash. The last thing you need is a Fujifilm camera that shoots interval shooting. So I don't know if the older models have it, but my Fujifilm X-S10 does, so I'm going to be showing you using my Fujifilm X-S10. When you're making a time lapse, you're going to have to decide a few things before setting up your interval shooting. Since a time lapse is going to be a video format, we need to decide if this is going to be a 24p, 30p, or 60p timeline. Me personally, I like shooting everything in 24p because I like that cinematic look to my videos, so everything is in 24p. You're going to want to know how many seconds you want this time lapse to be. Usually a sweet spot is anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds. For this example, we're going to be using 10 seconds. So now that we got those two down, we want to tell the camera how many shots we need to take to get the time lapse to look right. There's going to be some math involved here, guys, so it's pretty easy. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, so I'm going to be shooting in 24p, also known as 24 FPS, also known as 24 frames per second. If you're looking at this from a video standpoint, it takes 24 frames of still images to make a motion picture, because that's what a video is. It's just a motion pictures. It's a set of images posted together to make one cohesive movement and stuff. Okay, so since I'm using a 24p timeline, I know that each second of video is going to be 24 shots. So now what we need to do is multiply 24 frames by the amount of desired length we want for this time lapse, which I said like a few seconds ago is 10 seconds. You got 24 frames multiplied by 10 seconds, which equals 240 frames. If you're doing a 30p timeline, it would be 300 shots. 60p is 600 shots. Quick maths. Now you need to figure out the composition of what you like to photograph and figure out the photography settings as well. Now, if you ever taken a long exposure shot before, this will look familiar to you guys. What you want to do is keep your ISO at the lowest ISO possible. I keep mine at 100 when I can, and I like to have my aperture to be anywhere between f8 to a f11 so that everything in my frame is in focus and it is sharp. Next up, you want to do is to slow down your shutter speed. I like to have mine at 1/5 of a second. This will give you that motion blur in your time lapse. So keep in mind, if you're doing a time lapse during the day, you're going to need to get an ND filter to compensate for the slower shutter speed. And then you want to change your focusing to manual focusing, okay? You want full control of your autofocusing. The last thing you want to do is to do a time lapse with autofocusing tracking turned on. When things are going across the frame, it may change your focusing point, and we don't want that. So after that, you go into the menu setting, you scroll down until you see the shooting settings. It's the one that has the camera icon on it. You go all the way down to interval timer shooting. Now you want to choose how many seconds in between each shot should the camera have to wait before it takes its photos. Every second of interval is a different look. For me, the shorter the interval, the less time it looks like has passed on your time lapse. So you really want to play with this. And remember, the more time the camera has to wait to take its shot, the more you have to wait as well. Me personally, I like having my interval to be at minimum 3 seconds. I feel it looks the best. So if you have 240 shots times an interval of 3 seconds, you're going to have to wait 760 seconds for it to be over, which is 12 minutes. After you input that, press OK with the joystick. And start waiting time. I like to start mine right away, so we can go ahead and just press OK to start. And after you finish the time lapse, you're going to export all the photos you took and put it into a folder. I create a new folder so I know that all this contains my time lapse. What you want to do after is import that into Lightroom. Edit one shot until you are happy with how the image looks, and then you're gonna copy and paste that settings to the rest of the photos. And once you finish that, export the photos. I'm going to create a new folder to house these shots. And once that is done, the last thing to do is to put them into your video editing software. So I'm going to open up my DaVinci Resolve right here. And the thing I like about DaVinci Resolve is it's smart enough to know that this is a time lapse, so all I have to do is just drag this into the timeline. And once you're done putting it onto your timeline, you can export this out and you should have a time lapse that looks something like this. I hope you guys find this helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Do you guys shoot time lapse? If not, why aren't you? Because I think it's super cool and it's super fun to do. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help me out. It helps out the channel if you can just, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm, lets the YouTube algorithm know that you like my shit and that it's going to show it to the other people out there in the YouTube sphere. And also follow me on Instagram. That's where you're going to see more of my work at Iamtongue. That is it for me for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, my name is Tongue and I'll see you in the next video. I love you. 去外